Oh.
Hello and welcome to Sebastian's Lounge. Now, I am excited today. And let me just say, on the scale of excited, there's excited, mega excited, hyper excited, and derby excited. And today it's because I have Godjilla sold separately from the Newcastle Roller Derby League. So, hello Godjilla.
Hello, how are you? Hopefully I've turned my microphone on this time.
Welcome to Sebastian's Lounge. The applause from our online crowd.
I can hear them from here.
They're in my earpiece. It is so loud. So, Godjilla is from Newcastle.
I am.
For the geographically challenged out there, tell us about Newcastle.
Well, most people would be describing it as 2 hours north of Sydney. I think if you can get out of Sydney, and that takes you, less than 2 hours, you're going okay. And then it's about an hour and a half once you're out of Sydney to get to Newcastle.
It takes me an hour to get out of Sydney, so
it
your
blows
time
my mind.
is a little bit generous. So, now, you've been with the Newcastle League for many years.
Yes.
You're now their longest-serving member.
I am. I think it was February 2009, and they started in December 2008, so I wasn't too far behind.
So what can you tell us about the early days of the Newcastle League, how it came together and found its feet?
So Newcastle's actually a city that's had roller skating for a really long time. We had a rink for a really long time, but in 2002 our rink shut. And so that was a bit disappointing. But like all roller derby leagues, a few people found each other, made a Facebook group. They started a little AGM and some shindigs, and then they put on some events and things. And old friends ran into old friends that turned up, and it grew quite quickly, especially when Whippet happened. And I think we went from something like 40 members to 110.
It's much the same in Sydney.
Yeah.
For every tryout, there'd be 10, 15 people would turn out. Whippet comes out, suddenly 60 people turn up at the venue and said, we're ready to skate.
And we're like, hello? This is awkward. We don't know how to coach you yet. We don't know what we're doing yet.
The rules. We're still playing with the rules.
Yeah. We don't even know how to call it off. That was fun times.
Yeah. So one of the advantages I have when I'm a commentator is I had the best seat in the house.
Yes.
I watch all the skaters. I see a variety of different styles, whether they're speed skaters, artistic skaters, roller hockey skaters, disco skaters. You are perhaps the smoothest skater I have ever seen. And when I say that, you make my walking look awkward.
Which is funny because my walking's pretty awkward. I'm ex-artistic.
Ex-artistic.
So I started skating when I was about 5 years old with my dad. He used to take me to the rink every Saturday morning and we'd roller skate together and went through all the star classes. And then I went over to ice skating, came back and was back on my artistic skates, and then I realised that there were men in the world and I liked men, so to do that and hang around them I had to be cooler than have white skates on, so I changed over to inlines and started doing some ramp stuff and inline hockey, and then everything stopped and then derby started. So
what was the gap between stopping and derby for you?
It was about 6 years. And then in that 6 years I've never dreamt so much of skating because I'd been on skates for all my life and it was really weird not to be. So I was so glad derby started because in between I also played rugby union. So that kind of worked really well.
So you're quite used to hitting people?
Yeah, particularly women. Sounds terrible.
No, it's derby. Hitting women are okay.
In sport, so, consensually.
So we know you mainly as being one of the superstars of Newcastle, but there is so much else that you do in roller derby, which is why I have you here on Sebastian's Lounge. Talk to me about Orange. You were recently out in Orange, which is a rural town in New South Wales.
It is. And luckily the weather wasn't too bad because I was a bit worried that Orange gets a bit cold or a bit damn hot.
So tell me, what were you doing in Orange with roller derby?
Wonderfully, Derby Fest invited Dangerous and I as part of Nacho Points to come and coach in Orange, and it was just a really wonderful weekend. Rural roller derby is really wonderful. The people care so much about what they do, and we make jokes all the time about rural Australia and what else is there to do, and I think that really helps the derby love because it is a community. It creates a lot of sport. It gives people something to do with their day, and it's just wonderful. Everyone was just wonderful.
So I know in the cities we struggle to find venues. What's finding a venue like in Orange?
They had a bloody great venue. It was actually not so dissimilar to what we're in. It was a gigantic big room where we could fit 3 or 4 tracks. I think it was 4. And beautiful floors. They didn't mind us doing things. They weren't freaked out by the floor. So yeah, it was so those things of, God damn it, why don't we have this in Newcastle?
Well, talking about freaking about floors reminds me of when we were first starting Derby in Sydney.
Yes.
And we would have to clean up the track with wet tennis balls. Because every venue would want us to remove every smudge mark that skaters left behind.
I know, crazy.
Did you have the same?
Absolutely had the same thing. It is interesting how many people say, skates wreck floors. Really? You let people do motor ball and all sorts of other crazy stuff that metal will go to the ground, but our rubber wheels, our rubber toe stoppers, heaven forbid. I'm glad that we've moved away from that. I know that there's a lot of venues who are still pretty concerned about it, but when the AIS says yes, I think we're in a much better spot.
Much better spot. So many things to talk about. Let's talk about the Australian Roller Derby Coalition, the ARDC.
Yes.
Tell us about what that is.
Well, I'm vice chair, and what many moons ago a meeting started, I believe at TGSS, about the leagues forming something to come together to pursue Australian roller derby in a more global sense. So the ARDC, particularly in the last 12 months, has spent a lot of time trying to get membership so we can be the voice of roller derby for Australia. We're not leaving it to anyone else. We're not leaving it to our insurance companies or just one league or just the people going overseas. We're not leaving it just for flat track. It can be, the Australian Roller Derby Coalition is very open. It is about men's and women's and juniors and co-ed and whatever roller derby that you can find. We are in touch with the WFTDA very, very regularly. We've also had recent meetings with the UK version of us, which has been really prosperous. I wish I could use the English. And, more and more is coming together, and we're just looking at making opportunities to share information, to work out what people need, and to be a voice for this big sport in Australia that we have, but more globally. So there's all sorts of little suggestions that we sort of drop at places, like why can't we do a Commonwealth Games of roller derby? Why can't we?
Indeed not. Now, could the viewers do anything with the ARDC? Do you want them to go to a website or take part in any way?
Number one is ask your league whether they've joined as members. It's absolutely free. We don't push anything on your league. We are just here as a voice. But you can also join as an individual on our forums. So ardc.org.au, there's forums on there, there's some information on there, there's some pictures on there. We want to be whatever you need us to be. We're not, we're not here to mandate what we're going to be. If you need someone to find a letter that you can present to a venue to say we're not going to destroy floors, we will find that for you. If you need help with a grievance procedure, we will help you with it, whatever you need.
That's excellent. Now, in that list of things you were rattling off then, you mentioned junior roller derby.
Yeah.
I believe you are also involved in junior roller derby.
I try to be involved in everything.
I've noticed.
I know, I'm one of those. I've been very, very lucky. I keep saying to all my friends, it's like, why do people keep saying yes to me? I just kind of say, can I turn up to them? They're like, yeah, sure. And I'm like, sweet. I've been really lucky that we were part of the Junior Carnival, Danger and I as Nacho Points. We were part of that. I also helped out with the tryouts, just coaching the session to get people through tryouts. So we got to work with all the juniors who are phenomenal skaters. Like, it blows my mind that these guys are juniors. It's just crazy. I'm like, you're just littler than me, but most people are, so that makes no difference. And then I've been lucky, like with Derby Fest, being able to coach juniors, and recently as well, Nacho Points was asked to do a session with the Junior Team Australia just before the final selections in Sydney, and the talent is endless. If I want to be that person, these are our future. But it is, we need people skating to fill ours. I keep thinking of the Hydra last year, where we saw Munch, who was a junior skater, come in playing for Rose, blew everyone's mind. This is exactly what we need in Australia. Our juniors, they are phenomenal. I just can't wait to see them coming through the ranks. And, as an old lady going, back in the day, I saw the first Australian roller derby juniors. I think that they'll give me a great pleasure to see how it morphs.
I think it's a great development of the sport that we can now nurture at the young age and get them into ready to play the adult game.
It's just amazing because they play by adult rules.
Yeah.
So
and that's tremendous. So you mentioned the co-ed roller derby.
Yes.
Have you played any co-ed games?
Not of late. I've been known, and this is where, what is co-ed and what isn't co-ed. I've played in co-ed games where it's guys versus chicks. So I've played in the against the Mustachio Nuts since their first inception. So I've been a pussy whip and a ref banger and you name it. You've got to take the title. But I love games at Derby Fest and roller cons and all sorts of things. This is another thing that I crazy at these opportunities. Playing for Team Antic over in RollerCon last year, a co-ed game, playing for Canada, or playing against Canada and USA. All this stuff is crazy. People keep letting me do it.
Now we're running out of time here. We're about to get back to the second half of the game.
Woohoo!
So in our closing things, is there anything you want to see happen in roller derby in the near future, like a short-term goal you've got for yourself or for roller derby?
Short term, I just want to see people continue to enjoy it. Invite your friends, tell people to come and get more crowds at roller derby. We want the big crowds back.
The big crowds back. How do you think we can get the big crowds back? We've sort of gone up and then down a little bit in attendance.
I think it's a challenge for everyone. I think we put on really good events. We do really great things, and we just have to keep telling everyone about it, inviting people in it, and keeping people like to cheer on teams. So identifying, being able to have a crowd identify with your team's really important.
That is a strange thing because Derby's getting better and better.
Oh, it's amazing.
So it's
mind blown.
It's weird that our numbers peaked and then have drifted down, even though we continue to improve.
It is, yeah.
And by we, I mean you.
It's not me. It's not me. I'm just sort of trying to stay upright.
Anyway, I think we're out of time now. The teams are getting back on track. So thank you, Godjilla.
Thank you.
And tune in next time for more of Sebastian's Lounge.
We sure will.